Starting recording. Here we go.
All right.
What's up?
Hey, Peter.
What's happening?
How's it going, Peter?
I just wanted to make this video for you to introduce you to Joel. Joel's on the team, and as you are a native media buyer, by the way, I thought this would be interesting for you because Joel also has a very experienced background in native. Been here for a long time, so maybe he was in the same shoes that you are in now. So that's kind of the idea here, just to learn more about Joel's story, and you can kind of tell. So what's up? What's up, Joel? What's happening?
How's it going, Peter? It's going really good, man. It's going really good. Glad to be here on this call and share my story.
Yeah, cool. So what's your background, by the way? Let's just kind of roll through this.
Of course, you bet. So yeah, I was in native media buyer for about 5 years, working with a friend of mine. Kind of had like a little agency, and I learned how to media buy, starting kind of Nutra and BizOps stuff like 5 years ago, and worked my way up into building a small media buying team there, managing the team, and moved into some niches like casino and some lead gen, that kind of stuff, and it was good. Had a lot of success there. Native that's how we met, right, Peter?
Absolutely, yeah. The native mastermind, just
all
guys doing native, you know.
You bet.
Guys, you were doing rev content, or was that Taboola also?
Yeah. So back in the day, running mainly rev content, MGID, and content.ad, because most of the stuff I ran, you couldn't really get on Taboola. And yeah, I think that mastermind was how to get to 1K days, but I was already at like 3K days. So then we kind of bumped it to 10K days later. Just kind of fun. But yeah, most of my time was spent. I ran My Likes and a few of the other quirky sites as well. But the main ones, of course, Rev Content, MGID, and Content.ad.
And you got started how many years ago?
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago. My friend, he'd already been in the space for about 2 years, and he was doing really quite well, and wanted some help. So, of course, I moved on over and helped him out.
There we go. So, okay, so I know this is kind of like just a weird conference, but so what was the weird part what was the problems with native that when I came to you and I talked to you about this idea of like, hey, we're smashing Q's numbers here on Facebook. Like maybe Facebook is a cool idea. Plus, I'd love to work with you also. This would be a really powerhouse team together versus just me doing something on my own and you doing something on your own. What part of that did you like, or what was the challenges you were experiencing with native?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, first off, it's gotta be careful about the shiny thing syndrome, right? It's easy to get distracted by different traffic sources, different offers. So I've said no to a lot of things, but the problem I was running into is I became focused mainly in casino, which casino is not black hat, but it's kind of in the gray-ish area. And so one of the struggles I was having was getting just a scale. Basically, it was hard to scale. I was able to run on Taboola, but very limited, and a lot of traffic sources just don't like casino because it's kind of touchy and it's harder getting approvals, right? It was harder to spend more money, and just the widget nightmare was just a freaking nightmare, of course, especially in places like Rev Content and GID. You're forever chasing these, widgets and bots, and it's just like, I felt like I was spending half my day, if not more, fighting the traffic source as opposed to building funnels, So I was like, well, how hard am I working for what kind of profit now? It was kind of like, so anyway, I was interested in Facebook for a very long time. I admittedly felt a little intimidated by it only because I didn't understand it. And, so deep in the native game. So when we chatted and you have, years in Facebook, I felt confident that, you got a process in place. So obviously it made sense for me to come give it a shot. And, super glad I did, because coming into, within, I don't remember the specific days, but I think within 5 weeks or so, I was ramping up to 10K day spend, and then within a month and a half, I was spending 30K a day. And a native,
that's crazy.
It's native. I was kind of spending 5K days. I have spent more in the past, but again, the struggle to keep ROI and keep the widget game, I was just kind of floating that 4 to 6K a day for I feel a couple of years. So then, yeah, anyway, within weeks I'm with you and I'm spending 30K a day profitably, not losing money. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm just getting started. Clearly I've only been with you, I think, for almost 3 months now, 2.5 months. I'm still, warming up. So I wouldn't say it's an exaggeration that you should be able to spend 50 to 100 a day on good days. I could see that. It's pretty clear. So native, I still have a spot in my heart for native. It's pretty stable and stuff, but it's like I don't see the need to go back at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I mean I love the whole story is cool. By the way, Joel and I just got done from going to Barcelona, and he flew down to Miami, so we've been like blowing it up down here and having a blast. So yeah, I mean that is one of the pros of Facebook that I never kind of could crack either on native. You know, with Rev Content, I maxed out at like 8K a day in ad spend. With Facebook, I've been to $140,000 in one day on Facebook ad spend. Like we've spent like 1.4 million in a month on Facebook. So just the scale is there. You know, you can just hit the fucking gas so much harder, and on top of that, your skills, like we hired guys who didn't have a native background, and what we figured out was like that this native skills, like Joel's skills, like of knowing the trackers and doing the split testing and the thumbnails, Facebook guys don't do that stuff, right? Like that is so valuable. That's like such a valuable skill set that you have, but I mean, we were using it on like a traffic source that couldn't blow up or didn't have as much potential as before.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, to add to that point, I would say native overall is harder. You have to wear a lot of hats, right? You have to be sort of a data analyst. You still have to be a copywriter. You still have to be creative. You still have to understand some coding and servers, obviously, for landing pages and landing page optimization. At least you should understand that stuff. Where on Facebook, it kind of removes a lot of the whole widget bidding component. So if you bring your skills from native, testing headlines, testing thumbnails, testing landers, and typical stuff, you should come to a positive result. I mean, I did in a relatively short period of time, sticking to my standard approach. At first, I was kind of like, how do I treat Facebook? It's this whole different beast. But I was like, no. Advertising is the same. Just stick to the foundation, And anyway, here we are.
How do you feel about from going solo to like being on a team?
That's a great question. So I left the agency I was at last summer, and to go on my own. Things I just wasn't really happy there anymore, and it was time for me to leave. So I ran on my own for a good part of a year, and it was fine. Like I was profitable. I didn't have access to the same kind of funding, so I couldn't quite scale there as easily as well. But for me, I prefer working in a team. I've always preferred working in a team. The team environment, you get to share ideas. What Peter's created here too in this company is a really open environment where we actually share ideas. We're not like hoarding content, you know what I mean? Like it's a good structure set up to share. So I mean, I do my best to be creative, but of course I can't think of everything. So someone else thinks of something. And when you have a team, there's an opportunity to run more offers, and so you can kind of cross-pollinate ideas and or just the offers, right? It's basically faster to scale, faster to learn. So
yeah.
Plus, it sucks being alone too, right? When you're on your own, it's easier to get fearful. Like if things aren't going well for you, it's not hard to explain that. Like sometimes doubt creeps in, even with a lot of experience. You can start to be like, "Am I missing something? Is there something I'm not seeing?" Right?
You don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of on like a deep level. Like, what do you think of this campaign? What do you think about that? Like, and you just totally hit a wall where like there's no more like feedback, and the little Skype groups aren't like enough.
No.
I saw some quote the other day. I forget. It was like, it's like how iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man. One man sharpens another man. So like by working with somebody else closely, like you guys both get way fucking sharper, at your craft.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even if I'm coaching people, even in media buying stuff that's pretty obvious to me, it always reminds me of some foundational stuff that maybe I wasn't thinking about. So even just sharing it with someone else, they're learning, but I always learn too, right?
Cool. What would you say to a guy who had some success in the past, blew it up, and then maybe he's been like just struggling, or he's been concerned or worried about the future of native, or like the challenges that affiliate marketing is getting harder and harder? And then he sees like something like this, where some guys who maybe he knows us, maybe he doesn't know us, maybe he's been following us on Instagram or whatever, but he's considering this. What would you kind of say to a guy in that spot?
That's an excellent question. Well, simply, it's worth coming over and at least getting a test. And I say that because, well, few reasons. But one, like we're focusing specifically on white hat e-com products. So there's a few benefits there. I have a big background in casino, and casino you're always worried about, lead quality and player value. So a whole bunch of stuff in the back end you kind of got to worry about. That holds true in e-com as well. Like you're worried about cart value, but for the most part, you sell a product and you get paid. It's like a little more easy to wrap your head around, you know what I mean? And two, with the whole white hat side, we're not burning accounts, we're not cloaking, we're not like playing this cat and mouse game. It's literally we're just marketing, so that's a benefit. Facebook has more traffic than I don't know, almost everybody. I don't know if Google or Facebook's first right now, but they're up there, right? So traffic's not a problem, and oh man, there was one more part. Oh, and even just funding, like because this is a group and as a company, there's large amounts of funding available. So if you're on your own, you may be doing really well. I don't know what your position is, but it's great being in a place where funding is not an issue. So lots of funding, running clean campaigns on accounts that don't get banned. You really just get the focus on being a marketer. You know what I mean? Like maybe you don't see 500% ROI like you do on a diet Nutri account that's being cloaked, but you don't worry about it going down. So your ROI may be less, but it runs for like a month. You know what I mean? I prefer that. I don't have to wake up in the morning and be like pulling my hair out because everything is dead. I just can't stand that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? I was never a black hat guy anyway, so maybe my opinion's a little skewed, but I like stability. It's just nice, stable setup. So
cool. Well, I'll just reload the information real quick. We're only taking on kind of one guy for this position, and it's not like any sort of rush. Like please fill out the form, just answer the questions. We're gonna look at them, and then we'll just talk for a little bit. Like there's no you don't have to like jump in right away and like drop everything you were doing. You don't have to show us anything that you were doing that you don't want to do. We're just looking for the right person that could join our team that has like experience in an area that we feel like we can, take them to the next level and throw them on a Facebook train. We have a guru course, right? Because I got tired of like building or teaching everyone one-on-one. So I built this course on top of the one-on-one stuff that we're doing. So I think I don't know. How did you like going through the course, by the way?
Yeah, the course is great. So when I started, basically you sent me a login for your course, which is awesome because it's set up like a traditional online course. So the layout was great. But you basically sent that to me and just left me to it at first. So it was great. So I spent maybe, a week and a half just going through. There's still a lot of content in there. So just literally going through content, and it all made perfect sense. And then we started some traffic. And so I just started with the course, and I had a couple small questions maybe for you directly, but pretty much everything is answered in there. Like even how to create your Facebook accounts, how to set them up properly, how to launch. And so yeah, I mean, you could pretty much just run with that course almost. I mean, it does help having some human coaching, of course, but I'd say the biggest piece is just bringing your native background of like split testing. Just recognize split testing. You're checking CTRs, you're checking the typical things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I cannot say enough about like how much like if you've been able to spend $5,000 a day in native or close to that, like. Sure. The skills that you have are miles away from anyone who started doing Facebook and didn't learn landing page CTRs, doesn't understand the value of trackers, doesn't understand. We see these people coming all the time and they don't have this fundamental native skill set that native teaches people, of like all the thumbnail testing and stuff like that. These other new guys just don't fucking have it. And native guys are just rocketing past them when like Joel is just rocketed past all our other guys who have been with us for like a few months. So yeah, that was the main idea. The point of this video was for you to get some more insight and more information about maybe possibly working for us. If you are interested, the link is below. Fill out the form. And yeah, we're just taking on one guy, maybe two guys if it's a right fit. But right now it's just one guy. And we're going kind of taking it slow, so no rush, no big deal, no commitments. Give it a try. That's it. Except you can make the choice. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks. Is that it? Anything else you want to say?
Like I said, I think really, even if, we keep talking about 5K day spend, but even if you've been able to maintain, I think like 1K days a native for any length of time, you learn the skill set it takes to make it work. So it doesn't have to be huge numbers, but at least doing like reasonable, Yeah. I think that'll transfer over pretty well. So
cool. Yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot, Joel. Thanks for the time.
You bet.
Cool. See ya.